Hi, guys, and welcome into The Imperfect Messenger. Today we're discussing Matthew chapter 17 from the King James Version only. And we've titled this one Glory Revealed, Faith Tested. And Matthew chapter 17 reveals several important truths. Jesus' divine glory is unveiled. The disciples struggle with understanding. Faith is measured and strengthened. Humility and obedience are emphasized. This chapter shows us something real. Even those closest to Jesus still had moments of confusion and weak faith, yet he continued to teach them. So we'll start with chapter 17, verses 1 through 2. It says, And after 6 days, Jesus taketh Peter, James, and John, his brother, and bringeth them up into the high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. So for a moment, the disciples see Jesus not just as a teacher, but in divine glory. This is a glimpse of who he truly is. The imperfect messenger must understand sometimes God allows moments of revelation that strengthen faith for the journey ahead. Verse 3 says, And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elias talking with them. So Moses represents the law. Elijah or Elias represents the prophets. Both testify to Jesus. This moment reveals that Christ fulfills everything written before him. Verse 4 says, Then answered Peter and said unto Jesus, Lord, is it good for us to be here, if thou wilt? Let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for thee, one for Moses, and one for Elias. Excuse me. So Peter immediately tries to build something permanent around a moment. But spiritual revelations are not meant to trap us on the mountain. They prepare us for the valley. I'm going to read that one more time. Spiritual revelations are not meant to trap us on the mountain. They prepare us for the valley. So moving on to verse 5 says, While he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud, which said, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. So the command, God the Father speaks in this moment. The command is simple. Listen to Jesus. Listen to my Son. Hear his words. Verse 6 through 7 says, And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face and were sore afraid. And Jesus came and touched them and said, Arise and be not afraid. So even revelation can overwhelm us, but Jesus does not leave them in fear. He reassures them. The imperfect messenger must remember God reveals truth to strengthen, not to terrify. So verse 8 through 10 says, And when they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no man save Jesus alone. And as they came down from the mountain, Jesus charged them, saying, Tell the vision to no man until the Son of Man be risen again from the dead. And his disciples asked him, saying, When then say the scribes that Elias must first come? So they're trying to understand prophecy here. So they're trying to understand when Elias or Elijah is going to come, and that's a part of prophecy. So 12 through 13 says, And Jesus answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come and restore all things. But I say unto you that Elias is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist. So the disciples understood that he spoke unto them of John the Baptist. Jesus explains that John the Baptist fulfilled the role of Elijah as the forerunner. Understanding scripture requires revelation and context. So 14 through 16 says, And when they were come to the multitude, there came to him a certain man kneeling down to him and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is a lunatic and sore vexed, for oft times he falleth into the fire and oft into the water. And I brought him to thy disciples, and they could not cure him. So a desperate father approaches Jesus, and the disciples had previously cast out demons, but this time they had failed. Verse 17 says, Then Jesus answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me. So this statement is not just directed at the crowd. It is also a correction for the disciples. Even experienced followers of Christ can struggle with faith. Verse 18 says, And Jesus rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. Then came the disciples to Jesus apart and said, Why could not we cast him out? When the disciples struggled, Jesus demonstrated authority. Then came the disciples to Jesus apart and said, Why could not we cast him out? Because of your unbelief. For verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed. The issue was not size of faith, but sincerity of faith. A mustard seed is small, but alive. Living faith grows. Dead faith does nothing. So 20 through 21 says, And Jesus said unto them, Because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, Remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. Howbeit this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. So some spiritual challenges require deeper preparation. Prayer strengthens faith. Fasting sharpens dependence on God. The imperfect messenger must recognize the spiritual authority requires spiritual discipline. 22 through 23 says, And while they abode in Galilee, Jesus said unto them, The Son of Man shall be betrayed into the hands of men, and they shall kill him, and the third day he shall be raised again. And they were exceedingly sorry. So the disciples hear this, but they do not fully understand. Instead, they were exceedingly sorry. Sometimes we respond emotionally before we understand spiritually. 24 through 27 says, And when they were come to Capernaum, they that received tribute money came to Peter and said, Doth not your master pay tribute? He saith, Yes. And when he was come into the house, Jesus prevented and saying, What thinkest thou, Simon? Of whom do the kings of the earth take custom or tribute? Of their own children or of strangers? Peter saith unto him, Of strangers. Jesus saith unto him, Then are the children free. So, and then notwithstanding, lest we should offend them, go thou to the sea and cast an hook and take up the fish that first cometh up. And when thou hast opened his mouth, thou shalt find a piece of money that take, and give unto them for me and thee. So Peter is asked if Jesus pays the temple tax. Jesus explains that as the Son, he is technically exempt, yet he chooses to pay anyway. Go thou to the sea and cast a hook, thou shalt find a piece of money. A miracle provides the tax. But the deeper lesson is humility. Jesus demonstrates being right does not always mean demanding your rights. I'll read that again. Being right does not always mean demanding your rights. So just because he was exempt from paying the tax doesn't mean that he had to demand not to pay it. He still chose to pay it. Why? Because he wanted to show that he was no better than anyone else. Even though he's the Son of God, he was still no better than anybody else, right? So, major themes of Matthew 17. Christ's divine nature is revealed. Revelation strengthens faith. Even faithful followers struggle with understanding. Faith must grow beyond experience. Prayer and fasting deepen spiritual authority. Humility is essential to discipleship. You may experience moments of powerful revelation, still struggle with doubt outward, fail when trying to help others, need correction and deeper faith. But Jesus continues to teach and strengthen imperfect followers. Failure becomes instruction. So, the final challenge here, I want you guys to ask yourself, am I listening to Jesus above all other voices? Is my faith alive like a mustard seed? Am I investing in prayer and spiritual discipline? Am I humble enough to obey even when I am technically right? Matthew 17 teaches truth. Revelation shows us who Christ is. Faith determines how we respond. So this has been the Imperfect Messenger, Matthew chapter 17. I want to thank you guys for joining. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Excuse me. And I will see you guys on the next episode for Matthew chapter 18. Go forth and be blessed. Bye, guys.